Hello and welcome. This is Kaveree Bamzai at Rough Cut, and this week is truly a great one for the movies. There's just one movie that everyone is talking about, and for good reason. It's The Odyssey by Christopher Nolan. If you haven't heard it, you've been living under a rock, but I hope you have, and I hope you know the epic poem behind it, which is Homer's Odyssey. And what can I say about the film? It's the most modern and most contemporary retelling of the epic that you can think of. There's a reason why great leaders are urged to read the classics. It's because of that very Greek word hubris, the curse of power, the curse of absolute power, and what it does to corrupt the human mind. And the Odyssey is really a wonderful example of it. Who is Odysseus? Odysseus is the hero of the Greek war on the Trojans, the mastermind behind the Trojan horse, which was all about the brain and not the brawn, and also the man who won the war. But really the cost of war is what the Odyssey talks about. Odysseus returns finally to his homeland, Ithaca, where his beloved Penelope awaits him, and his son, who's never really met him, Telemachus, awaits him. But the cost of war is so enormous. And in this world where there are wars all around, it really is a little sermon, actually, to the leaders of our free world. What are we doing with the power that we have? What are we doing to the people that we have? Why are we dividing them? Why are we creating divisions among human beings? And the Odyssey tells us what the cost of war is. I'd just like to break it down a little, and I have a few notes for a change, which I want to emphasize so that you understand why this is a movie that has to be watched. Not as a Greek lesson or a lesson in epics or a lesson in great literature, although it is all of that, but also to understand the world that we're living in. Agamemnon, who's the brother-in-law of Menelaus, who is the husband of Helen of Troy, the face that launched 1,000 ships, she's the reason ostensibly that the Greeks go to war with the Trojans. But the real reason, as Odysseus says in a throwaway line, is to control the trade routes. Where have we heard that before? Then the whole idea of war and what it does to the armies that are sent to fight for a nation's honor. The cost of it. Odysseus comes back, but he comes back with not a single person from his army. He has lost all of them. And there is a stunning sequence, without giving too much away, where he meets them in Hades, which is hell, of course, where they talk to him and they tell him that they followed him into war, and on occasion he didn't have even the decency to bury them, to honor their sacrifice. And I think that's something else that comes through in another stunning sequence with Circe, who's played by Samantha Morton, who really should be up for some award of some kind. It's a stunning sequence, again, without giving too much away, where she talks about how really, in a way, the women are the ones who suffer the most, because the soldiers rape and pillage whichever country or whichever state that they're meant to, and it is called discipline. But the women are the ones who really bear the cost, and we see that in Penelope, we see that in Circe, we see that even in gods like Athena, whose temple is destroyed. There's so much to unpack in Nolan's film, and not in the least in the way he's told it through some amazing performances. I think Matt Damon could not have been better in this. He looks as if he's lived through a 20-year war, 10 years fighting the war, and 10 years trying to come home. And all the things that we've read about and heard about, from T.S. Eliot's Wasteland to all the classics that we've read, or at least have sort of referenced, you see them. You see the monster Cyclops, you see the monster Scylla, you see the Charybdis, you see the sea sirens. And, it could just have been one adventure upon adventure, but there's an underlying meaning to all this, which is really what comes right at the end. And I want to read out what Odysseus tells Penelope finally when they meet. It's not really a spoiler alert. And he says, a new dawn will break over the darkened world, and our mistakes will once again be forgotten. Again, it's something that we could say, pretty much about what's happening in the world today. Also, I think the casting is so contemporary. You have Travis Scott as the bard. One of the foremost rappers as the bard, which says a lot about how Christopher Nolan is imagining this epic. You have Tom Holland as Telemachus, whose performance is extraordinary, as this boy who wants to be king and the boy who wants his father, or dad, as Robert Pattinson's very loutish villain tells us. And there's Anne Hathaway, who, of course, is wonderful as Penelope, but even Zendaya and Calypso, who's played by Charlize Theron, all just wonderful performers. And even if you see them for 10 minutes, for 5 minutes, they leave such an impression on you. But as I said, the underlying thread really is the return and how tough it can be to go back home, where home is not exactly how and you left it. And a lot of us will see parallels in it to Ashoka, when Odysseus is surveying the battlefield with the graves of all his dead soldiers, or when he is full of remorse about having left behind so many unburied soldiers. You can see that despair that war leaves behind, something I wish our leaders would also understand. And I think, above all, it's the human ambition to be like gods, and how that can lead to their downfall. And here you see Poseidon, cursing Odysseus for thinking that he could be better than him. He could master the sea. You see Zeus, the master of the god of sky, raining down thunder and lightning on Odysseus because he thought he could be bigger than him. And the whole idea about Zeus's law, which I think is something that we all have forgotten, the humanity in that, which is about how even a beggar could be a god in disguise, and we all have to treat strangers with the ultimate kindness. As I said, so much to unpack. A lot of us will see similarities with the Ramayana. There's a deer that Odysseus and his soldiers follow, which actually is a trap. There is a sort of a second Swayamvar in a way to test Penelope, which involves a bow and arrow. Where have we seen that before? There's so much that seems similar, but I suppose that's true in all our epics, and we see the same human element and the same human emotion everywhere, even centuries later. What else can I tell you about why you need to watch it? And not just once, I think you should watch it twice. Once to just take in the spectacle of the adventures and the extraordinary encounters that Odysseus has. And the second, I think, to understand the deeper philosophical reasons that Christopher Nolan may have made the movie. I think he remains, especially after Oppenheimer, he's actually become one of our greatest anti-war activists in a way. And we see what war can do to people who actually started it and who instigated. And I think that really remains to me the biggest lesson from the Odyssey: the cost of war on women, the cost of war on soldiers, the cost of war on nations, and how Ithaca and Troy, neither of them remain the same as they were before the war. And you see Helen of Troy, Menelaus' wife, you see Clytemnestra, Agamemnon's wife, and what they go through because of what the war has done to them. So much more to tell you. But I would really urge you to go and watch the movie. Even if you can't find an IMAX screen next to you, just go and watch it in any theater and just keep aside all your distractions. Focus on the movie, enjoy the spectacle, enjoy the amazing acting, enjoy the effort that Christopher Nolan has put in making this movie with IMAX cameras, and really have a good time at the movies this week. You'll enjoy it. I did. Thank you.